Welcome to the Friday Night Drive podcast, South and West Edition. I'm here with Shaw Sports Regional Editor JT Pedelty. I'm Daily Chronicle Sports Editor Eddie Carifio, and we are an impatient bunch, and we're just jumping straight into Sam Ramirez this week. Guys, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Sam, your camera, you need to tilt it up a little. I can see that ugly Broncos logo. Yeah.
33 points in the fourth quarter. I got to wear it loud and proud.
Gross. Absolutely gross. I'm a Chargers fan. You took first in the division over us.
That's
Chiefs,
right.
The Chiefs are going to win it anyway, so this is all fun and games the first half of the year. But speaking of things that aren't fun and games, playoff implications, great matchups, IHSA Week 9. We made it, fellas.
Yeah, this is a fun one, too. I know, well, every Week 9 is a fun one, but this seems like a fun one.
I think it's fun for a couple of reasons. I think it's fun because there's so many teams that are trying to get into the playoffs, and even for the teams that are maybe 7-1 right now, they're trying to solidify a home game, and I feel like every game truly matters this weekend, so it's definitely fun always in Week 9.
Yeah,
You'd have to be crazy to want to change this, but we don't need to go.
Oh, my Lord.
You know what, Sam? Kind of right off the bat, got a game that kind of crosses over with you guys' two markets, so I will introduce it and then take a back seat while you guys discuss it. We got Genoa Kingston at Dixon.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, no, this is one of a couple up here. We're going to talk about Sycamore Cahokia later, but a couple 4-4 teams up here looking to get win number 5 against teams that are 7-1. So it's interesting. This is one of them, GK Dixon. Of course, the other interesting thing is the playoff points actually might be enough for GK and Sycamore to get in with a loss. In fact, in Seuss's latest projections, he has Sycamore as the 16th seed, even at 4-5. And GK just misses out in his latest one. But they're picking up, even if they lose like 11 to 12 playoff points this week with this game. Not that you want to lose going in, but Dixon has 5 shutouts this year, all within the last 6 weeks. They picked one up last week. Sam, what's working for this Dixon defense?
As Coach Shaner told me, the guys up front are just nasty, and they like to hit. They like to knock people down, and they have a really good defensive line. And the thing I'm impressed about with Dixon is it's so hard for teams to run the ball on them. And even when teams try to go to the outside, those defensive ends are so fast to the ball. And I think at one point this year, through like 5 or 6 games, they had only allowed like 300 yards rushing. And a lot of that was with second stringers out there. Their first string defense has only allowed 28 points all year, and 21 of them came against Byron. Byron did get a defensive touchdown, but it's a nasty defense. They play so well, so fast to the ball, and they take pride in shutting teams out.
Yeah, GK's got some speed on the edges. They're doing some things with that gun T, but I mean, they're not the best offensive team in the league, and you've seen what Dixon has done to the best offensive teams in the league. And I say that despite them putting up 62 last week against Rock Falls. But, you've seen what Dixon's done against elite offenses. And, yeah, man, Dixon looks good to finish up 8-1.
And guys, it'd be a shame. I saw Genoa Kingston in Week 1, and at that point, they were still trying to figure out the quarterback situation. But GK has put up some points this year in some of their games. Like you said, 62 against Rock Falls. I believe they put up 50+ in a win over North Boone. It's a GK offense that isn't bad, but unfortunately for them, it just so happens they got a 7-1 team in Week 9 in Dixon. But, at GK, if they do miss out on the playoffs, I think they'll look back at that Week 1 Oregon game as a game that maybe got away from them. Big difference between being 4-5 and 5-4.
There's actually 3 games that got away from them. Their losses, and it'll probably end up this way, they're 3 of the losses to non-Dixon and Byron teams are by a touchdown. They played Seneca, as I point to JT's box weirdly. They played Seneca within a touchdown. Yeah. They played Seneca within a touchdown, and I believe Stillman Valley is the other loss, and that was also a 1-score game. So, I mean, there are 3 losses there by a touchdown. So, there's a big difference between 4-5 and 7-2.
And, the thing I love about Week 9, kind of going back to the opening statement, it seems like every game matters. You wouldn't think an Oregon-Dwight matchup would be so critical to Genoa Kingston. But for Genoa Kingston, it's almost like a must win for Oregon going on the road and getting them that playoff point, because like you said, teams that go 4-5, every playoff point is going to matter. So Oregon winning a non-conference game would be huge for Genoa Kingston if they were to lose to Dixon this Friday.
Yeah, because they're, like I said, they're getting the 11. They're assuming they lose, they'll get the 8 from Dixon, they'll get the 3 from the other BNC games, and that's a potential 12. Also, that seems like a good a segue as any to talk a little Oregon, Dwight. Your guys' crossover.
Yeah, so go ahead, JT.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a really good matchup. Both teams come in 5-3. Oregon squeaked one out against Winnebago 2018 last week. Dwight, got their win, but Dwight's kind of a little low on the playoff points. Not awful. Low 30s, probably finished mid 30s. So I mean, they're not in dire straits or anything, but you don't want to be a 16 going to a 1 or a 15 going to a 2 if you can avoid it. So a win here is a big deal for a Dwight program that, really, Sam, the one thing with Dwight, and then I'd love to hear a little about Oregon, but the one thing with Dwight, they're playing pretty good football right now. They've won 3 in a row. They don't have a win against a really good team. This could be it. And, if you can go into the playoffs winning 4 in a row, there was a lot of preseason talk about Dwight from Seuss, from myself, that, man, they're going to, they lost Gardner South Wilmington in that co-op. So they're probably dropping down to Class 1A after making the quarterfinals in 2A last year. Kind of a Cinderella team. And it's kind of like, boy, is Dwight, they could really mess things up in 1A if they can get there. The question is, can they get there? The answer looks to be like, yes. Now it's time to ramp up and start beating good opponents. Oregon would certainly fit the bill there.
Well, you look at Oregon, and guys, believe it or not, with the Big Northern Conference, most of the time it's a locked-in conference, so you don't get a chance to play many non-conference games. So this will be the first time in 9 years that Oregon goes on the road for a non-conference game. And I'll tell you, there's excitement. There's excitement because instead of playing the Byrons and the Stillmans and the Winnebagos, it's fun to step out of conference. And I know the Hawks, they're excited about this matchup. And with that being said, JT, I feel like you got 2 teams right now sort of going in the opposite direction. I feel like you got a Dwight team right now that is red hot, 3 in a row. They would love to get to 4 in a row and get 6 wins and get into the playoffs. You look at Oregon 2 weeks ago, a tough loss to Stillman Valley. They were up 15-6 at half, ended up losing 20-15. And then last Friday, had to get a game-saving fumble 5 yards away from the end zone with 2 minutes to go. Winnebago almost beat Oregon last Friday night. Oregon recovered the fumble. Winnebago 2-6. So I feel like Oregon's sort of limping into their Week 9 game. But as you guys know, there's a big difference between going 5-4 and 6-3 when it comes to your first round matchup. So I know Oregon will be fired up. But like I said, 2 teams kind of in opposite directions right now.
Yeah, anyone coming from Oregon to Dwight, since you obviously haven't been down here in many years, if at all, watch your turns, follow your GPS. Lots of when it crosses the railroad tracks, they're downtown diagonal streets for no reason, crisscrossing the straight streets and blah blah blah. So,
is there a 5-way intersection somewhere in Dwight? Please say there's a 5-way intersection somewhere in Dwight.
They're almost. You know what? I despise roundabouts. This should just be like things Eddie and I hate in the off season. We should just do.
Well, things we can't agree upon, because I love roundabouts.
I love roundabouts.
Oh, they're the worst invention ever. I don't know who thinks it's a good idea. If
you know how to drive, think they're
people who know that area know which street is which. But if you're going somewhere you haven't been before, they're impossible. Take the 4th exit on the. Anyway, neither here nor there. Of all the things that could have one of those roundabouts, Dwight right there would be a great place for one. Although train tracks going through the middle of a roundabout might be a bad idea.
So what you're telling me, JT, is to broadcast the game, leave a little early tomorrow, because I'm going to have to make my way through downtown Dwight. Guys, I'm excited. I'm a stat guy, and this is the 33rd different school since 2000 that we get to go to and broadcast from. So it shows you we don't get to do this often. So I'm excited to be in Dwight. Their athletic director got a hold of me. I got a hold of him. Seems like a nice guy, sent me all the information I'd need. So it seems like it's a fun place to be.
Yeah, very nice small school stadium too, and a nice town, right down Route 17 for me. Very nice small town, great head coach, great facilities there. I think you'll enjoy it. Hopefully you get a great football game.
Should be a good time tomorrow night.
Also got to point out that on Sam mentioned about the closed conferences, a nice solution to that would be maybe if there were 16 regions, and then you could schedule 3 or 4 other games outside of that, and not have to worry about playoffs because it would be pretty easy to get in. Like something like that would be pretty good. But that's not here or there. We got Amboy West Central to talk
This
about.
is a perfect analogy, though, because we're talking about how excited everyone is about this game, and then we're saying, but we need to change it.
The game wouldn't be any less exciting. The game wouldn't be any less exciting. It would be.
Did you say Amboy West Central?
Was that?
Did you say Amboy West Central?
Isn't that next on the list?
Yes, I'm trying to stop us from getting sidetracked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I screwed something up.
Nice 8-man matchup. Two at 7-1 8-man football teams. Amboy, Lamoille, Ohio, and West Central. I also noticed putting this together, kind of West Central, West Carroll, West Prairie. A lot of Wests in 8-man football, right? I tend to get them mixed up in my head and everything. However, these two teams you should not get mixed up because these are two probably front runners to win the I8FA state championship here in about a month, Sam.
I think these could be 2 of the 4 best teams in 8-man football. You could obviously throw in Polo and Milledgeville in that discussion, but this is good for Amboy, you guys. Amboy opened up week 1 with a loss to Milledgeville, and I think it was like 28-22, something along those lines. Since then, Amboy has had 8 straight running clock wins, and it looks great, but at the same time, you want to get your players some reps because you're not going to have those kinds of games come playoff time, whether it's an 8-man or 11-man. So I think a matchup like this for Amboy on the road in week 9 is critical. It's important because I think we're going to learn a lot about Amboy, but I think even more importantly, this is going to be a big matchup with implications on the 8-man football playoff pairings, which come out Saturday as well. Which one of these teams will maybe be an 8-1 team that could get a home game? Who knows? A 7-2 team could go on the road. So I love this matchup at 8-man in week 9.
Yeah, with only 16 teams on that bracket, 1 win, 1 loss drops you from hey, we're going to have a couple home games to, hey, we're on the road till round 3. It really can goof you up. It's a big swing with wins and losses on that 16 team bracket. West Carroll too. They've won 7 in a row coming into this one. So I think this is a great matchup. Should be a playoff type atmosphere. Never had. Is West Central, is that Biggsville?
And guys, I went down to Biggsville to watch Polo maybe 3 years ago. And again, kind of like Dwight, it just kind of sits, well, not necessarily Dwight, but feels like it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's a couple of cornfields to your left, a bean field to your right. Then all of a sudden, here's this little town with a football field. But I'll tell you, when in Biggsville, they'll bring the fans. They love their football down there. And I think Amboy, that's a fun matchup on Friday night.
Sounds good. Eddie, now might be a great time to take a break and then come back and discuss with Sam our eliminator picks.
Sounds like a plan.
SGKR Injury Attorneys tackles the toughest cases. I'm Matt Rundio. When life throws a flag, we go on offense to protect your rights. Don't get sidelined. Score a touchdown with SGKR. Visit us at sgkr.law.
At Oliver's, we are proud to serve our community. We serve up great customer service, quality products, ease of shopping, and we serve up delicious barbecued sandwiches at our fundraiser cookouts. So stop by Oliver's, 748 North Brinton and Dixon, and help fund our local clubs and events.
In Illinois and into Iowa, the story of Shaw Media is a story of trust. Since 1851, we've been informing, connecting, and reflecting the communities we serve, large and small, rural and urban, suburban, and river towns alike. With dozens of local newspapers, radio stations, magazines, and specialty brands like Friday Night Drive and Starve Rock Country, we meet people wherever they are. We shine a light on local government. We celebrate Friday night touchdowns. We tell the stories that shape your day, from neighborhood heroes to the Chicago Bears. But what truly sets us apart? It's our people. The award-winning journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers who live here, work here, and care deeply about what matters most to you. We don't just report the news. We're part of the fabric of the places we serve, from the Mississippi to the Illinois, from the Fox all the way to the chain of lakes. Trusted for generations, still earning it every day. Shaw Media, your most trusted local source.
Welcome back, and it's eliminator time, I think. Let's you two had easy wins last week. My barely getting a win streak continues. Sam, we'll start with you. You win GK over Rock Falls, as we mentioned earlier. That was a 62-0 GK win. And this week, I think you and I are both going out west into the NUIC. What do you got?
Guys, I pick my picks every morning, Friday morning, and last week I picked Dupec to beat Stockton. That was my game of the week last week, and I learned you don't pick against Stockton. Stockton, number one, it's not like a great game. So with that being said, I like Stockton to beat Forreston. That's my pick of the week. I got Stockton winning over Forreston tomorrow. Forreston 5-3. They're going to get into the playoffs, but I do like Stockton to win over the Cardinals.
That's an interesting one. Forreston's not bad traditionally or this year, but like you said, Stockton is just Stockton's having themselves a year. So like I said, I'm also in the NUIC. By the way, off of that Oregon Bago game was my pick. Very close to not picking one here this week and succeeding to win one of you two. But skin of my teeth, Oregon, skin of their teeth, Oregon beat Bago 2018. I don't think I was overly involved in the win. This week I'm going Galena over Fulton. Galena's 4-4 needs a win to get in. Fulton's had their struggles this year. Galena's been kind of streaky this year. Won 3, lost 4. They won 46-6 against Dakota last week. And I'm running out of teams to pick for or against, so I'm going Galena over Fulton.
And I'm going to go a little bit west, at least from where most of us are situated anyway. I'm going to take Rock Ridge over Hall. Rock Ridge undefeated, the number 1 team in 2A. Kind of surprised they haven't come up yet. They're playing a Hall team that's had a nice kind of turnaround season, kind of building something. They're 3-5, but they've lost their last 3 after a 3-2 start. The schedule had a lot to do with that, and it doesn't get any easier here with Rock Ridge. So I'm going to take Rock Ridge over Spring Valley Hall / Granville Putnam County / my eliminator pick of the week.
Okay, so those are the eliminator picks. Sam, as always, appreciate you coming by. Where you at? Oh, you said where you're at this week.
Being Dwight tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one for you.
Yep, you guys, I always thank you for having me on. I really enjoy your show, and it's always fun to be a small part of it. So thank you guys, and hopefully we'll get the chance to talk when the playoffs come out, pairing Saturday night. Hopefully talk to you guys soon.
Thanks,
Sounds
Sam.
like a plan, Sam. See ya. Okay, that was Sam Ramirez. We're rolling along with Week 9 games. There's one up here I wanted to get to. Like I already kind of mentioned it with Sycamore, Cahokia. Sycamore's kind of in the same boat Genoa's in. 4-4 coming in and theoretically needing a win to get in. That's the other thing about this week is you don't know. Okay, maybe you get in with 4 wins. Maybe you're not in with 5, depending on how things end up shaking out. I mean, we see that every year. Like, there's going to be a bunch of 4-win teams, and then there's a whole bunch of Week 9 upsets, and there are no 4-win teams.
Yeah, I definitely feel like traditionally, I feel like it was a lot of the boy who cried wolf for years about 4 and 5 at-large bids going out. 4 and 5 teams get in if they're a conference champion of a league that gets an automatic bid. But for at-large bids, it just didn't happen or very rarely happened. And every year it was like, it's looking like this is the year. And finally, the last couple of years, it has been the year. It seems like teams drop into 8-man and, other shifts, teams not playing football has kind of made it where it's easier to get into the field, slightly easier, where 4 and 5s are getting at-large bids, but it's no sure thing.
So that's why Sycamore, like Genoa, like any 4-4 team this week, Sycamore probably looking for a win. They got to drive all the way down to St. Louis to face Cahokia. Cahokia came up here last year for a 52-14 win. Cahokia, like I said, 7-1 coming in. Sycamore 4-4. Sycamore off a really tough loss last week, obviously, to a Morris team that has handed a lot of teams really tough losses this year. That one was 50-10. They turned it over on 4 straight possessions. I think 3 of them were interceptions. Griffin Larson, the quarterback, I think he had 2 interceptions all year going into the game. It's been a really good. By the way, I believe he's listed at 5'7" or 5'8". In playing quarterback for a 5A school. He's done a really good job this year. I said Morris has made a lot of people look bad. But, it's going to be a challenge for Sycamore going down there and trying to come away with this win.
Yeah, I think it's a tough matchup, long drive and everything. The one good thing a lot of coaches will tell you about those long road trips is sometimes they're good for a team. Sometimes it's a lot of team bonding. It's a lot of time to focus on what you're doing. It's a business trip. So some coaches, some teams, it depends on the makeup of your team. Some teams really respond to that. Obviously, Sycamore has all the motivation in the world. Right now, it looks like they could get in at 4-5, but we all know from history that's no sure thing. Might even be a long shot. So, and it's one of those good news, bad news things where it's like, well, if they lose, they get an extra playoff point because Cahokia gets a win. But you'd much rather have the win.
Yeah. Yeah, 4-5, that extra playoff, like you said, it's far more likely that, especially with the amount of playoff points they have, but even without that factored in, it's far more likely that a 4-5 team doesn't get in than that one extra playoff point ends up mattering.
Correct.
So obviously
better than playoff points, but it's a silver lining type thing. But the cloud is huge and dark, so you don't want to rely on that silver lining.
So we'll see what they can do against this Cahokia team that's been very dominant this year.
One other one I'd mention real quick, since we're talking Interstate 8, there's not a ton of overly compelling matchups in the Interstate 8. Kind of as happens every year, the teams have kind of sifted themselves out as the playoff teams and the not playoff teams in that 6-team conference. But Morris 8-0 conference champion. They're going to be hosting Byron Center, Michigan, which comes in at 5-3. Morris pretty much with their playoff points. I think Steve Susi has them as a strong candidate with a win here to get the top seed in 4A, potentially, if they can get a win here. They have 43 playoff points coming in, probably going to finish in the high 40s. And then you got they want to avenge a loss from last year to this Byron Center, Michigan team. So interesting matchup for Morris, and one that could be really meaningful in shaping that 4A bracket.
Yeah, this Morris team seems to be on the revenge tour, claiming claiming the I-8 title, getting that back,
Peoria High, Muhammad Seymour,
Sycamore. So definitely this seems like this is going to line up for that revenge tour. So I'm not betting against Morris.
Yeah, not too far down the road from Morris, we have a huge matchup for a conference championship that hasn't been decided. Coal City visiting Wilmington for second straight year. I'm pretty sure last year it was in Wilmington where I saw the game. The players coming out through the woods with the Harley smoke revving up, and it awesome entrance. Really cool. Had to hide behind a tree so I didn't get run over, taking video as they ran by. But Coal City 7-1, 5-0 in the ice. Wilmington 7-1, 5-0 in the ice. I believe Wilmington's loss came in week 1 to Morris. Coal City lost in week 2. Neither of them's lost since. This is how you make a conference schedule, right, Eddie? I mean, it helps. It helps when you know ahead of time almost certainly these two teams will be first and second in the league. But it's awesome that it's here, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been talking about this all year, and this is conference scheduling done right. And these are like two really even teams if you look at them. When I was doing my extensive research / reading your notes coming into the podcast, they seem just like maybe not necessarily mirror images of each other, just in the sense that they are both just really, really good teams.
Yeah. And then I think one of the things you're alluding to there that I did have in my notes, Coal City's outscoring opponents by an average score of 46-9. Wilmington is outscoring opponents by an average score of 44-7. For those of you who aren't quick on math, that's the exact same difference in points, in point spread between the, games they play. So they're both beating teams by an average of 37 points this season. I don't think anyone's winning by 37 this week. I think this is going to be a great football game.
Yeah, no, this like you said, this is a fun one. Who do we have down there? It's
Adam Tamino from our from the KK Daily Journal area will be covering that one for Friday Night Drive. Adam does great work, and he's got a great game to go with here. I have no idea who to pick. When I was reading Steve Susi's previews, I purposely read the whole preview and left that part on the bottom of the screen because I was trying to get from how he was writing who he was leaning toward. And he talked about how, man, if there's a year Coal City's going to get him, that's the one thing. I mean, Wilmington has owned this rivalry of late. I think they've won 12 of the last 14. So, but Susi did the official Friday Night Drive pick is indeed the Wilmington Wildcats. But I don't think I or anyone else would be surprised if Coal City did get him this year, because that Coal City team just been rolling.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I know there's another good one out that way. you had highlighted, wanted to talk about, and that's Noble Comer and Reed Custer.
Well, this is a game I don't think anyone knew was coming. I'm not sure exactly when it's been added, but I was kind of surprised to see it on there. So it's been here in recent days. I think Noble Comer just got eliminated in the Chicago Public League. You don't get at-large berths unless you finish in the top 2 of certain conferences. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I'm pretty sure
that's the case. Noble Comer's in one of those conferences. They finished 3rd in their conference, so they're kind
There's
of
no corn in the CPL, so we
yes,
don't know.
not our job. But yeah, they it's kind of a really interesting situation because Noble Comer just recently found out they cannot make the playoffs under the bylaws of the Chicago Public League. So they are not mandated to play a crossover game with another Chicago Public League school. I don't know exactly what the timing of it was, if they knew this possibly was coming down the pike or if they chose not to play and then found this. But Reed Custer was sitting there at, we talked about last week, they needed to upset Wilmington in order to keep their playoff hopes probably alive at all, because they were coming in 3-4 and had that bye coming from Lyle, a forfeit win. Well, now instead of taking that forfeit win from Lyle, they're rolling the dice and saying, instead of a win and being 4-5 with our playoff point total in the mid-30s, we're going to play a game. And if we can beat Noble Comer, we will still be 4-5, same record, but we're going to pick up those 5 playoff points from Noble Comer's thing. So I don't know how much of that went into it. I don't know that it matters. I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting that group of kids is getting an extra football game instead of having to end a week earlier than everyone else. So I applaud them for that. But it also could end up being the difference between, if 4 and 5 teams get at large bids, those 5 playoff points could be the difference between getting in and getting out.
Yeah, I think it's our job to analyze it like that. I think from the school standpoint, they just wanted a game would be my best guess.
Yeah. And it's as I said, it's great that they're getting the kids get that game. And if that gets them into the field at 256, that's awesome. Their playoff points probably will end up somewhere in the mid 40s ish. You can only get one from Wilmington or Coal City, and you kind of look at the conference matchups and how that lines up. But they'll probably end up around the mid 40s, which is right around where I think Sycamore was that Seuss had them projected to get in. But first things first, Reed Custer has to beat a Noble Comer team that started the year 5-0.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a hard task, but on the road, and I would say they've got a puncher's chance in this one, or perhaps even more, probably, knowing how the CPL usually rolls. I don't know. I'm not knowing a ton about Noble Comer for sure. I'd say Reed Custer. That's who I'd probably pick.
Yeah, you know what? You got Reed Custer's a team that won 1 game last year, and the team they won over isn't playing varsity football this year. So what a great turnaround that they're in week 9 talking about playoff scenarios at all. Even if there's stretches, even if it takes an unlikely opponent and a last-minute game, and no matter what it takes, how great for that community, Braidwood and the surrounding area, to be able to talk playoff possibilities in week 9. That's awesome.
I know there were a couple games we wanted to hit really quick before we wwrap up. There was one up here, and we talked I-8 already, but I did want to kind of bring up Althoff Catholic at Canelan. This one's interesting. Canelan's already in. Canelan's already in the playoffs. They can definitely improve their seeding here with a win. But Althoff, the defending 1A state champions, is sitting at 4-4. They're making the ride from Belleville up here. Last year, Canelan went down there, lost 14-10. I think it was like the closest or second closest game Althoff Catholic played all year, going undefeated and winning the state championship. But it's a different team this year. Now, granted, Deer Hill Jr., their stud, who I wanted to be the Friday Night Drive player of the year, by the way. I was outvoted on that one. He missed that game last year, and now he's off at, I believe it was Oregon, unless he's hit the portal already, which, I mean, probably. But no, and this should be an interesting one up here. Canelan can keep the defending 1A state champions out of the postseason. It's and get a little bit of a revenge and kind of right the ship going into the postseason. The last 2 weeks haven't exactly been great for the Knights with that loss to Rochelle. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Obviously, that Rochelle team was and still very much is super motivated with everything happening with Dylan Manning. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, just as a quick aside here, there's a fundraiser. You can probably find it online. It's on my Twitter, DDC Eddie Carifio. I retweeted the link. They're doing a fundraiser. If you buy tickets to Saturday's NIU game against Ball State, from this specific link, $10 goes to help support Dylan Manning and his family right now. So that's an opportunity if you do want to see a rivalry game. I won't get into details about NIU's 1-9 record in these trophy games against Miami and Ball State or other stuff. You could read my preview on dailychronicle.com, but that's not here nor there. It's a good fundraising opportunity. That was one hell of a tangent. So Kaneland lost to Rochelle, then needed a last-second field goal to beat LaSalle Peru last week. So they could really right the ship here getting into the postseason and keep a defending state champ out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's weird. It kind of, Southern Illinois is a big place. There aren't a lot of big towns, I went to Carbondale for school, and, when you're, like Carbondale, Marion, those are basically like a Chicago and or maybe a Peoria and a Bloomington Normal down there, even though they're much smaller. For down there, they're so big. Effingham's a great example. Effingham up here would just be like another town, another city. And, down there, it's a central hub of all things, and businesses and giant bank corporations are centered there. And so, but anyway, I find it interesting because there aren't so many schools of a good size down there. They have to travel to play, and we keep seeing the same ones over and over again in these schedules. If you listen to the podcast over the years, it's Althoff, it's Granite City now has been coming around a lot in recent years. I believe they're visiting Ottawa in week 9. Cahokia, O'Fallon, like it's all the same. Southern Illinois teams kind of always kind of coming up, joining our team. I find it interesting, and you never kind of know how those matchups are because you don't have a ton of common opponents. So. Nice big game for Kaneland here, I think. And I think you mentioned that it's a later kickoff.
Oh, yeah, it was a 7:30 kickoff. Thanks to the refs. It was supposed to be a 6 o'clock start. We were all looking forward to, even though I'm not particularly covering that one. Chris Walker is, and he was, I know, very much looking forward to the 6 o'clock kickoff, as anyone would be. And I know actually talking with the coach, Michael Ferguson, he actually was looking forward to the 6 o'clock kickoff as well. I think everyone just likes that better, but here we are, 7:30. So mark that down on your calendars.
Yeah, not just for our deadlines or to get people home or anything else, but this time of year, I mean, weather's a factor. You're talking an hour and a half's difference. You might be talking about 10, 15 degrees there. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. Still the last remnants of light, still maybe at 6 for about another week or two.
And I think we had one other game on our list, which is kind of a couple of likely playoff teams. Erie Prophetstown 6-2 visiting 5-3 Princeton. Princeton's played a decent schedule, nothing amazing, nothing awful. So they probably got enough playoff points to get in at 5-4, but this would be a really nice one, especially after Princeton struggled early in the year, to kind of keep the momentum they've got in 3 straight wins, to kind of keep that going. Also Princeton 0-3 against other teams that are playoff hopefuls at this point. Everyone they've defeated has been a team that's pretty much already eliminated, barring wild things happening. Casey Etheridge continues to be just a phenomenal rusher for Princeton. I believe I read in Kevin Hieronymus's notes that he's now the leading rushing touchdown scorer in Bureau County history. He had 217 yards and 5 of those touchdowns against Mercer County last week. So yeah, 5-5 in a game, that'll get you there quick.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's not his first 5 touchdown performance. I don't even think didn't he have 6 last year? or earlier this year. I want to say.
I think so. He piles them up, obviously, if he has the most in their county's history. A county with a pretty rich history of football tradition. Erie Prophetstown, they've won 4 straight. They locked up a playoff berth, beating Mendota last week, 27-14, a game that maybe was a little closer than people thought it might be. So chance for Erie Prophetstown to make a statement and build a little momentum themselves going into the playoffs. And they only have 1 win of their 6 that came against a fellow playoff hopeful. So this is one that's kind of going to be like, hey, which one of these teams is for real? Which one of these teams has some momentum going to the playoffs? So should be a good matchup of teams that are already in, so it doesn't carry that drama, but still has a lot of meaning.
Yeah, no, like you said, it's really looks like one of these teams needs to get that win to going into the playoffs. They've struggled against playoff teams. So to get that win, aside from the fact that, EP going in with 7 wins probably gets themselves a home game. Princeton going in at 6 probably gets them away from an elite team in they're 2A probably, right? Or they 1A?
Princeton? Probably 3A.
Yeah. Oh, 3A. Okay.
Probably.
So it gets them away from one of the elite 3A teams. So even without that, in fact, I mean, they just, for Princeton's sake, need the win to, prove themselves. Okay, we can beat a big boy. Same thing with EP.
Yeah. And I'm going to double check that now because I always feel really knowledgeable about this stuff. And I think I know it. And then they did the multipliers this year. And but yes, they look like right now Seuss has them pegged in as a 12 seed in the 3A bracket.
So he probably has them losing this game. No, I guess 12 could be a 5 or a 6-win team. That'd actually be a 6-win team.
Oh, them and Johnsburg would be a fun one if it happens.
But that's looking ahead. We're going to break all this down next week, I would imagine. Sir. So I think that's a wrap for this week. Where are you at?
I've got an 8-man game this week. I'm going to be going down to Flanagan. Flanagan Cornell Woodland is hosting. Jeez, I'm blanking now.
I'm sorry, I put you on the spot.
That's because I'm pulling up the wrong thing. Well, a little inside or behind the scenes news is that that I've been off this week. I come back off a few days vacation tomorrow, so I'm really not in a work mind. But that tells you how excited I am about like the high school playoffs and the week 9 matchups because I've been like, oh yeah, I got to look this stuff up. Bushnell Prairie City's visiting Flanagan Cornell Woodland in an 8-man game, so I'll be there. Hopefully a win for the Falcons that'll solidify their 8-man spot. How about you, Eddie?
And I did want to thank you. I wasn't going to because I didn't want to out you as being on vacation until tomorrow. But really, obviously, awesome that that we were able to do this week.
Wouldn't miss it.
So I'm doing DeKalb at Waubonsie. I'm pretty sure it's Waubonsie. It's either Waubonsie or Matad. I believe it's Waubonsie Valley. 1 win this year, a big one for DeKalb, obviously, to come away with. A big difference between a 2-win season and a 3-win season, I think. It is Waubonsie. They're playing Waubonsie. Only has 1 win this year against Stag, which I believe Stag's winless coming in. I think they've lost every conference game, like running clock and being shut out, including to both DeKalb and Waubonsie. So should be kind of interesting, even though it's 2 teams that seasons are over. It is obviously a local team for us up here. So
yes.
DeKalb Waubonsie is where I'm at. All these games on Friday Night Drive.com. The show with Susan Rodewald Friday nights, and obviously Saturday night with the playoff pairings being released. We obviously want to be on Friday Night Drive. We'll have stories from every market with previews of every one of our teams up almost instantly once the classes are announced. You do not want to miss that. FridayNightDrive.com. Do I get extra for that? Am I getting?
Yes.
Well, JT, thank you. Thank you everyone else for being here this week, and playoff time. See you next week.